Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to today's video. So I've got a lot to talk about, and so I picked a sort of a longer piece of gameplay than I normally would. Well, actually I don't really control how long the gameplay is, but a longer piece of gameplay today because I knew I had a lot of stuff to talk about. The match you're about to watch is Bounty Hunter on the map Island, and this is one of the very early Bounty Hunter matches that I played. Like, this was recorded a few weeks after it first dropped, so I was still learning the game mode slightly, but I'm enjoying it and I'm getting a lot of kills in the game mode. And well, you'll see that as the months go by because I do get some really good gameplays in Bounty Hunter. Like, some of my highest kill counts are in Bounty Hunter, and I'm really sad that I didn't post them at the time because they probably would have really good piece of gameplay. But anyway, they're still good to watch, and this I believe is one of the earlier ones, and again one of the decent ones as well. Right, so in last week's video I did talk about my first ever escape room experience. As I said, we did it for a friend's leaving do, and I'm going to pick up that story because I said I was going to finish it, and I'll talk about the curry house in a second that we went to afterwards. I am definitely going to be talking about more of my US trip today. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to cover, but I'm definitely cover some of it. And fun fact, the last video that I did where I talked about it was over a month ago now. I said I'd do part 4 the week after, but yeah, it's been over a month, so yeah. But just before we get to that, just a couple of notes about videos that I made this week just gone. So yesterday I published another Journey to Platinum video. It's a game that I've already played before. It's Uncharted 2, but the last time I played it was on the PS3, so this will be the first time I played it on the PS4. And I'm just laughing because I'm thinking, if they released it on the PS5, would I play it again? Probably would. Would I play it again? Probably would. So who knows, maybe I'll do it 3 times. But I posted that on the channel yesterday. I'll link it on the screen now. It's also in the description below. And basically, if you've never watched this Journey to Platinum video before, it's basically me earning the last trophy, or trophies in this case, before I unlock the platinum for a certain game. And so I'm on number 19 at the moment. I'll be working on number 20 soon enough, I hope. I know what game it's going to be, I just need to get around to doing it. And of course I'll be posting that to the channel once I get it done. Right, so back to last week's video. I talked about my first ever experience with an escape room, and it was kind of fun. I won't go over it again because obviously I talked about it in last week's video. I will link that video on the screen now. I'll also link it in the description below, and that's another Uncharted 4 piece of gameplay. Now this week, as we'll just cover what happened after we did the escape room. So we went to this thing, and then afterwards we went out for a meal, and we went to a curry house after. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, I don't know, it kind of looked fancy, but it wasn't fancy. It was one of these like artistic, modern places. I don't know, so the lighting was like in jars and hanging, and they had like wooden benches and tables, and I don't know, I mean, it looked kind of expensive and fancy on the outside, I suppose. And obviously when you look at the menu and the way that they served it and everything, and it wasn't in like dishes or bowls, it was in like these like tin things. I don't know if that's because of the way they heat it, or they literally cook it and put it in just to make it look fancy. But one of those sort of places, you know, so artistic. And I don't give a crap about any of that. Like, I don't care for any of that stuff. I didn't really rate it, to be honest with you. I thought it looked good, but I mean, I'd rather have a bowl and a plate for my food to be on, not these tins and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, not my sort of thing. But anyway, I rate the place on food. So we ordered obviously curry because that's what we went for, and the food was okay. I mean, it wasn't cheap. It never is when you go out to somewhere like this, right? So that's the first thing I didn't like. But I don't mind paying for something if it's worth it. Like I said before in several videos now, I rate things on the value of which they are. And I think the ingredients were good. I mean, the meat, I had a lamb curry, I think, was really soft. It was well cooked. The seasoning was decent. But as curries go, it was maybe a bit sweet compared to what I normally have. And they tried to make it fancy by putting things like pomegranate on it and stuff like that. And I get it, right? That's where they can get away with charging the extra £2 for this, well, ordinary curry, basically. But it didn't add anything to it. Like, I didn't really rate it as a curry. Would I go back there again? No, I wouldn't. Would I recommend people going to that restaurant? I probably wouldn't. Not because it was bad, but because it wasn't anything special. It wasn't anything great, for me anyway. I mean, I said the seating and the lighting was kind of cool, kind of novel. You know, an interesting experience. But if the food is not great, I mean, I said it wasn't bad, but if it wasn't anything spectacular, then I'm not paying over the odds to eat there again. I don't really want to name the restaurant because that makes it sound like I'm bad-mouthing it, and I'm really not, but I can't compliment it, if you know what I mean. Like, I can't honestly say, yeah, go and eat there. Alan said it was a great place to go and eat, so I can't put my name to it, but it wasn't bad enough for me to slate it in a video, and that's not what this is all about. But yeah, it was okay, and I don't know, maybe because it was just overpriced for what we got. But moving on from that. Okay, so if I remember correctly, the last time I talked about my US trip, we had just driven down to LA and we'd stayed the night, and the wedding was not the day after, but the day after that. So we had a day to kill in between the wedding, basically. And they had like another ceremony before the actual wedding day itself, and that was like a family only thing. So we had like a little, I don't know, it's hard to describe. I don't want to call it like a pre-wedding thing, but it was in addition to the wedding ceremony. So this was like a side thing, just for family members. And then obviously the day after was when they had like the whole walking down the aisle and all the rest of it. Okay, so the thing that I forgot to mention last time actually is that in America they have this thing called jaywalking, and I mean, you might have heard of it before. It's quite, well, I mean, obviously it's a law in America, but as a foreigner, it's something you don't really expect, and especially as a Brit as well. So when I cross the road, if it's quiet, I'll just cross as and when, wherever. And sometimes I'll chance it, you know, risk my life to run across the road, but I've not been hit yet. So I'm doing a good job so far. But in America, you have to wait by law at a pedestrian crossing. So you have to press the light, you have to wait for it to turn, and then you cross, regardless of if there's any vehicles on the road whatsoever. So even if the road is completely empty and it's nighttime, you still by law need to wait to cross the road because you can get fined for it. And as a Brit coming over, I said, I cross the road as and when. I mean, I do it safely, but I don't wait for the lights, and I don't always go to a zebra crossing or, you know, go to a set of traffic lights to cross the road, because it just doesn't make any sense. If the road's empty, then cross the road, right? As long as it's safe to do so, you don't put yourself in danger, you don't put vehicles in danger, then fine. But in America, it's the law, and it's called jaywalking. That's the offense. The hotel we stayed at was sort of at a busy intersection, and even though there were shops nearby and we went out at night time and stuff, and there were very few cars on the road, we still had to abide by these laws. Well, my aunt said we had to abide by the laws. I may or may not have, but it just, I don't know, it's just different. That's one of the things that I don't really understand, but hey ho, it's a different country, different set of rules. And the other thing that I didn't mention as well when we drove down from San Francisco to LA was the scenery. It's a bit more green up north because there's a bit more water up there because of the mountains apparently, and the further you drive down, the less greenery you see, because obviously there's less water, so less stuff grows. But what you do see as you're driving down is a lot of like orchards and farms where people grow, well, for them it's just normal fruit, but from someone who doesn't live in America, this is all like kind of interesting. So you see avocados, almond trees, and just stuff like that, which obviously in the UK we'd only get like apple trees, maybe cherry trees, that sort of thing. So they had like, well, they call it just normal fruits, but I call it kind of exotic fruits. So that was really interesting to see. And there's loads and loads of these orchards when you're driving down the highway and stuff. And a lot of places advertise like cheap fruit, so you can go in, you can pick your own, you just pay for what you pick. They charge for, that's the other thing as well, they charge by pounds, whereas in the UK we charge by kilos, so that's something different as well. I know you can do either or, in marketplaces you can pick how you want to pay for it, but it's just little things like that, which just, I don't know, just make me chuckle a little bit. Right, so we got down to LA, we spent our first night there, so we chilled on the walkway. That was mostly the first night because we got there quite late. Second day, we had that family thing, and I was feeling a bit under the weather, and I don't know why I was feeling under the weather. Maybe it's because of the lack of sleep, a lot of traveling or whatever, but I was a little bit under the weather, so I spent a lot of the second day just sleeping, just resting, recouping. I think I had a bit of a cold. I'm not too sure where I picked it up. It might have been the difference in climate. Sometimes when you travel from hot to cold countries or vice versa, you can pick up a cold just because your body's adjusting to it, and I don't know, whatever reason. I'm not sure of the exact science, but I know it's quite a common thing. And that said, I wasn't getting a lot of sleep because people were being really noisy at night, and my sleep pattern was all over the place. I don't know, maybe I was just missing Fortnite. I don't know, I can't tell you. But I was a little bit ill, so I slept a lot on the second day. And so we went on to the third day, and that was when the wedding was going to take place. And the wedding was really, really nice. It was, it's just, I've got pictures which I'd love to share on Insta and stuff, but I just need to get around to posting it. But it was a typical, like, in the movies, really expensive wedding. Obviously, no one talks about the money side of things, but it looked expensive. They put a lot of money into this wedding, and it shows. It was really nice. So they paid for a lot of people to stay in hotels, myself included, obviously. My cousin was originally born in the UK, and she emigrated with her family, obviously, because for parents' work, they moved to America. So a lot of her family is in the UK, and a lot of my uncle's family, so her dad, live in Australia. So from her side of the family, a lot of people had to travel like halfway across the world to be at this wedding, and she was really grateful for us being there. And it was a long trip, and it wasn't cheap for everyone. But as I said, her parents picked up a lot of the hotel bills, so that was really generous of them. So the wedding was sometime in the afternoon, and we went out for like an early lunch, just because obviously it was going to be a long day otherwise. And we went back to the hotel, we got changed, we got ready, and then we went to a different hotel where some other guests were staying, and we were going to be picked up from the hotel in buses and go to the venue. Now the venue itself was a short drive away, and it was set at a private orchard, and I think it was a lemon orchard or something, but lemon trees everywhere that I could see. They might have grown other fruits as well, I'm not too sure. But we had to drive up this hill to get to this orchard, and when you got to the top, and you could just see the views across LA, and oh, it was so beautiful. And I really hope I do post some of those pictures in the future, because they really were nice views. So I'm gonna try and, I mean, the venue's sort of typical. So I mean, as I said, we're on top of a hill, so we've got really nice views looking over LA, and then we've got a lot of fruit trees in the background, a lot of lemon trees just dotted around here and there, and you've got like a sort of a clearing where obviously the chairs are going to be, the aisle's going to be, and the bride and groom walk down, and they stand at the front, obviously in front of the families, and they do their thing. And now both of them had prepared sort of like their own, I don't know, vows, I guess you'd call them, but they gave like a little bit of a talk, a bit of a talk, not a bloody presentation. They had some words for each other, nice words, obviously, not bad words, but they had little things to say, and it was really sweet, like really nice, and they both got really emotional. I didn't expect it, honestly, from the groom, but he didn't seem like the sort of type to start crying, but he was tearful, to say the least. I mean, I envy him. He's obviously found the one, right, and he's just really happy, and that's goals, that's life goals right there, boys and girls. And so he was tearful, and then my cousin, obviously, she'd said her piece as well, and she was really tearful because she was so happy that family could make it from so far afield, and we were just happy to be there to share the day with her. As I said, it was a long journey. Half of my family couldn't make it, so my dad and my sister couldn't come, so it's just me and my mum. And again, same with some of the other families as well. Only certain people were able to turn up, so it was nice that they were there to just represent, outside of the family. Speaking of speeches, so the guy who officiated the ceremony was the groom's best friend, I believe, and they knew each other really well. They've been friends since uni or whatever, and he gave a really good speech as well. And all the speeches during that ceremony were just really good. The best way that I can describe it, it was like being in a movie, in a film where someone's having a wedding. It was just like it, right? The scenery, the setting, the good speeches, people being emotional. It just felt like being in a film. That's the best way I can describe it, like a Hollywood film where people are just happy and emotional and rich. I don't know. It just felt like being in one of those films. But the main thing is, it was a really nice ceremony, like really nice ceremony, and I was just happy that I could be there, representing my family, and obviously to be there for my cousin as well, so that was just really nice. Okay, so it was an afternoon ceremony, and I think the reason why they picked it, I'm only guessing, but it makes sense, is that the sun obviously is not quite as hot as midday, and obviously the longer the day goes on for, the lower the sun gets, so the cooler it gets. I think the wedding finished around 5ish, the ceremony, so they went off to take photos and stuff. Oh, actually, before they did that. So the ceremony finished, and they walked back up the aisle, and the aisle actually ends at a set of stairs, and they were planning to walk up the stairs and, well, off into the sunset, just for the video or whatever. And they're walking up the stairs, and my cousin's obviously in a really big, flowy white wedding gown, and she struggles a little bit. So the groom, well, technically now the husband, picks her up and carries her up the stairs, and we're talking quite a lot of stairs here, and about halfway through he nearly stacks it, like he literally wobbles, and it was one of those moments where the entire crowd just goes because they literally could have both fallen backwards, and that would have been a very different story. But fortunately he managed to recover, and they both get to the top okay safely. I don't think he puts it back down again or whatever, but it was just so funny, one of those moments. And I said, it's just like being in a film. I can't, literally, it's almost a script from a film. Somebody could take it and use it in a film. It's that sort of thing. So anyway, they walked up, we applauded, blah blah blah. And then afterwards, they came back down again for the wedding photo. So that bit was just, I guess, for the camera. Really nice moment, though, for the camera, I might add. So they came back down, took photos. And while they were doing that, we all went off to like a separate area where we had like small nibbles to eat and drinks. It was an open bar. Bit of a queue, but you didn't have to pay for anything. And I'm not really much of a drinker, so I didn't really take massive advantage of it. But I got a few drinks. And what made me really laugh, actually, at the time was I didn't get ID'd. Like, I don't look very old for my age, which is a good thing. But everywhere in the UK where I go to buy a drink, I always get ID'd, like always. So it's just normal for me to be there expecting to give out my ID to someone before buying a drink. And I get to the front and I order my drinks, and that's it. It's on my way. Okay, fine. So I'll take it. And it's really funny because in America, the legal drinking age is 21. So if I get ID'd in the UK for being under 18, why am I not getting ID'd in the US for being under 21? And I don't know, just made me laugh. So maybe I looked a lot older in my suit or something. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know, we were there for a decent amount of time, sort of just mingling with other guests, just drinking, eating these like little snack things. And again, these canapé things they were handing out were, really nice. They looked really good. They were kind of tasty, and I mean, you could tell they were expensive as well. And we sort of just lingered there, I think for like half an hour or so. I think this is so that they could get the food ready. unfortunately the gameplay is running to an end, so I'm going to have to wrap up this commentary for today. In next week's video I will pick up the story and we will again be talking about food, funnily enough. I'll be talking about the dinner that we had, and then if I've got time I'll probably talk about the other stuff I did in America while I was there. I don't know how many more parts actually, it could potentially be 2 more parts for this US trip recap. But it's a story that I'm having fun sharing and I hope you're enjoying it as well, and it's just nice to just reminisce, you know, it's such a long time ago now, it's weird, like I should have done this months ago, but better late than never, and it's just nice to recall the memories, so I look forward to sharing that with you. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, the gameplay, do consider tapping that button, I really do appreciate it. And as always, if you've got any thoughts, share me regarding anything you've seen or anything I've talked about, let me know in the comment section below. But as I said, until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I will see you later.